Okay, so I reviewed Skyrim, my #1 favorite game. So I guess the next logical step would be to go down the list. So today we're going to be talking about the goddamn masterpiece known as Terraria. So what is Terraria, you may be asking? I'll tell you what it is. It's freaking brilliant. Okay, but for real. It's an open world sandbox game about building and adventure. Might sound a bit familiar, but believe me when I say that it's absurdly different from that other building game. First off, it's two-dimensional, so you know that's a. But what separates Terraria from those other games, at least for me, is the whole adventure feeling of the game, as well as how different every playthrough can be, mostly because some of the randomness of the game, or how you decide what to collect to go with a playstyle. The building of the game is somewhat optional, technically, but if you're gonna play the game, you will most certainly be building quite a lot. And it works incredibly well in this game, which you might not think because of the whole 2D thing. With a mouse, placing and destroying blocks is very easy and precise. Not to mention that there's an absolute ton of decorations and furniture. However, most of it is uninteractable, but the amount of time the artists spend doing the graphics and coming up with the designs is really freaking impressive. In fact, just the content in general is incredible. Seriously, there are literally thousands of items, ranging from armor, swords, bows, staffs, spells, guns, furniture, dyes, grappling hooks, UFOs, magic boots, portaguns, wings. That's what you come to expect in Terraria. It's a very non-serious, lighthearted game, but still very challenging in many ways. As far as the game controls, Terraria is pretty freaking positive for me. The control is nice, smooth, and is very responsive. At the beginning of the game, exploring can be somewhat annoying and could take some time. But as you get greater loot throughout the game, it becomes progressively easier to travel, and you'll certainly be doing that a lot if you want to actually defeat the final boss of the game. The mix of exploration, collecting, building, and combat feels great. Something about it just feels so enjoyable that I've been doing playthroughs of the game more than I've been doing it with Skyrim. Similar to Skyrim in this game, there are multiple playstyles, like melee, range, magic, and summoner. But unlike Skyrim, you can easily change your playstyle because the game doesn't have any perks or things of the sorts that are irreversible. The reason for using a specific style is because most armor sets will only give you a bonus in one specific class, but changing is as easy as unequipping and re-equipping an armor set. Easily one of my favorite things about the game is the insane weapon variety. Of course you got the basic stuff like bows, swords, and even guns and staffs. But even with those weapons, there are some extremely creative variants. Take for example, the Star Wrath. They took a basic sword and gave it some sweet ranged ability and made it look pretty awesome. Or how about the once overpowered vampire knives? And for the most inventive items, some of my favorite examples are things like the Razor Pine or the Shadow Beam Staff. And that doesn't even scratch the surface. Just take a look at some of these weapons. The bosses in Terraria are what really make the whole experience. For multiple reasons. One, there is really only one boss you have to fight, but each one has a reward that makes killing them worth it. Two, many times throughout the game, you'll find that it's much easier to kill a boss by using items you received from the previous one, especially in the first part of the game. Three, for a first time playthrough, these bosses can be really challenging, but now when I play, I know all the boss's patterns, their weaknesses, the best items to use against them, that to actually make them difficult, I would have to do some sort of challenge against myself. The game makes it worth fighting most of them, at least if you want to get the best items. Speaking of that, the best items in the game help show just how far you've come from the beginning of your adventure. And because Terraria is somewhat about collecting super rare items and crafting the very best ones, when you die, you don't drop all of your items unlike some other block-based game, but this only applies if you're playing in the softcore difficulty, where you only drop a certain percentage of your money. In medium core, you drop all items, and in hardcore, your character will permanently die. But those are just difficulty settings for your characters. In Terraria, you have worlds and characters. With your characters, you can enter any one of your randomly generated worlds, which is super awesome considering that not every world will have everything. When creating a world, you can choose between normal or expert. In expert mode, the enemies are much more difficult and bosses have new attacks and patterns. Personally, I really dislike this mode. The enemies are made so much more difficult that it just feels unfair because it makes them more annoying than difficult. Their AI is still the exact same, with the exception of bosses, so it usually boils down to just finding a way to attack the enemy repeatedly and having enough knockback to not get hit. But this mode doesn't really bother me just because it's 100% optional. And that's most on Terraria. I truly recommend they at least try the game, especially because it often goes on sale on Steam, and it's only $10 on PC and about 20 on pretty much everything else.
So what are you waiting for? Just do it. Purchase the game and experience it for yourself. But not the mobile version. That one sucks.